If you truly want to get better at rocket racing and start winning nearly every race, then check out this video and make sure to take some notes because I'm about to break down everything you need to know to win every race. Now, if you do get some value out of this or you do enjoy it, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on all the new updates and techniques for rocket racing. And if you decide to change your mind later on, you can always unsubscribe. So first of all, you need to understand that mistakes happen and they aren't going to ruin your chances in a race. Winning every single race isn't going to be possible, but you can recover from nearly anything that happens within rocket racing. So don't get discouraged. Just take a look at this race I won during a live stream a few weeks ago. I was using the restroom when the race started, and I was still able to come back and win. Now, sure, some skill does come into play somewhat here, but the main reason I was able to catch up is due to a hidden mechanic within rocket racing that allows players behind first place to catch up with the leader. Now, I have tested this personally because at first I didn't believe it, but it is 100% true, and it's much more powerful than you'd think. And while it does seem somewhat unfair to the leader, I believe it does create a more strategic approach to the race and gives everyone a fair chance.
Okay. I mean, guys.
Secondly, I'd like to mention drifting is extremely important when it comes to rocket racing. Not only does it help you around tight corners, but it builds up your boost faster as well. I begin every race in a drift immediately and continue to drift every chance I get. It doesn't even matter if you're in last place at the beginning of the race because you're building up enough boost to not only catch the competition, but pass them. That said, you need to be careful on when you're using your boosts. Using your boost at the right time is another very important skill to learn. Now that you know about the hidden catch-up mechanic in the game, you can make a safe estimate that if you're in the first or second lap, you don't need to worry about what position you're in. It truly all comes down to the last lap, even then the last few seconds of the last lap. You should never use your boost as soon as you get it unless you see the finish line ahead of you. Instead, wait until your third boost meter is mostly filled up before using the boost. This will allow you to have boost on hand in case you do make a mistake and wreck. In that case, boost as soon as you respawn to quickly get back up to speed. The only exception to this rule is if you're on a very curvy race with few straights. In that case, you'd want to save your boost for the straights or long jumps so you don't lose speeds. If you're drifting properly, you'll be getting boost around the corners regardless. The next thing I want to talk to you is about practicing maps. And I know it might sound boring, but it's very important. You can join a private match and play the maps completely alone. And this is a great way to learn the maps and explore any possible shortcuts you may have missed. It's always better to test out routes in private than in a ranked match. Try perfecting your routes in a few maps that are less familiar to you so that when you get into a race, you know exactly where you want to go. Yet another vital skill to learn is how to fly through the air. I know it sounds very simple, but most people don't know you can actually fly further or shorter distances by pulling back or pushing up on the joystick. Rocket racing has a lot of large jumps that oftentimes you see people directional flipping onto walls to make it across. What if I told you that wasn't necessary? Instead, just pull back on the joystick and fly the entire way. It's also a good idea to use a boost during this time, as I mentioned before. A couple extra tips I'll mention are using the directional flips and maintaining your drift boosts. For directional flips, you always want to make sure you flip down to the ground whenever it's safe to do so. The longer you're in the air, the more speed you lose, so when you have a safe ground underneath you, simply flip down to the ground and continue on. Another time to use flips could be when you're jumping a large gap and it looks like you aren't going to make it. You can directional flip upwards and it'll usually give you the extra height you need to make the jump. When it comes to maintaining your drift boosts, this is somewhat of an advanced technique, but it's still fairly simple. To do this, you need to hold on to your drift button while you jump in the air. This is particularly helpful when there are obstacles during a turn. This way you can continue building your drift boost until you're able to straighten out and get the boost. There's actually an even more advanced technique called air skating that can be done here, but it does require you to change your button layout. And if you're interested in that, here's a video I made showing you how you can do it. So, peace out and race on.